What's going on, guys? Gomes here, back again on another MLB 20 video. Today we are going to be talking a bit about 5 things that I really want to see in the beta that is coming very soon. Of course, the beta is going to first come out, is going to be first playable on January 14th, and it extends to January 20th. Now, invites should start rolling out soon, so let me know if you have gotten an invitation yet, if you did sign up. I have not gotten one yet, but I'm interested to see if anybody else has. Also, registration has closed by now, so if you didn't register, I apologize. And also, one more important thing, you are not allowed to talk about this except for on the specific forums on the Show Nation. Don't make videos, don't stream. You will be at risk of your account being banned and possibly other issues there. So the beta, of course, usually we would get the alpha. The only difference is the beta is a little bit further along. Of course, you know, the alpha would have been out by now in years past, in the 19 alpha, the 18 alpha, and all those things. So hopefully we should see pretty close or get a good idea of new things that is going to be with the gameplay in MLB 20. So today I want to talk about 5 things that I really want to see in the beta. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. What would you guys like to see in the beta? The first thing I want to talk about is swing contact correcting. This has been a big issue, in my opinion, one of the biggest problems plaguing the hitting system for the last couple of years. So really what I'm looking for here, if you're very early or very late, you do not make contact whatsoever. I feel like a broken record talking about this one at this point. I've mentioned it so often. There'll be times where if you're very early, very late, so you're not very close at all with your swing timing, you still make contact, you foul tip, eventually there's going to be a pitch hung down the middle, home run. It feels like BS to the player pitching because you got bailed out. You shouldn't make contact with those pitches. Also, if you're 2+ quadrants off, and I'll show you guys what I mean by that, if the square of the strike zone, if you're 2 quadrants off, so if it is far left, if that's where your PCI is and the ball ends up far right, you should not make contact. You're not close enough. Now it happens where sometimes you can get blue pits, sometimes you foul it off. That shouldn't happen at all. It should be a swing and a miss, starting at all-star difficulty. Of course, I'm talking about online multiplayer for all of this right here. And then finally, if it's way out of the strike zone, you shouldn't make contact once again with it. If it's just a little bit, sure. You know, just don't make solid contact if the ball is not near the strike zone. You know, I'm okay with foul tips as long as, once again, your PCI is in the general vicinity and, you know, it's not literally in the dirt and your swing timing is somewhat coherent with the pitch at play, but you should not make solid contact. I've seen home runs on pitches out of the strike zone. Should not happen. Swing contact correcting, big thing for fixing the hitting system in MLB 20. The defensive shield fix. This is something that was introduced in MLB 19. Of course, there was always ratings having an effect on defense, but this year the most of all, and they got to do something to fix this. First of all, in Diamond Dynasty, if you've ever noticed a card that has 78 fielding but has good arm strength, it'll say he's a gold defensive rating, but in the game he's silver, because the only thing that matters for that shield is his fielding attribute. Change that. It's misleading. Have it be corresponding to what is actually in game. If you have 79 but everything else is 99, you still have silver defensive shield in the game. So fix that first of all, and this is how I would lay it out. Diamond defensive shield, guaranteed routine plays. You're never going to bobble the ball right to you. Now, if it's hit 120 miles per hour and you have to move a little bit, I'm okay with sometimes it eating you up, but diamond, it should like never happen. And then the best and fastest animations that you can get, it should be a little bit of a disparity from 90 overall defensive to 99. There should still be a bit of difference there, but of course that has to be the best, the top echelon tier of defensive players. Gold, once again, guaranteed routine plays. That's still good enough where they should never drop a ball right to them. And if it's a slow ground ball, which I've bobbled slow ground balls with Honus Wagner, who has, I think, 96 fielding, that should not happen. And they should also have good animations, but could hinder them in certain opportunities where they don't get the ball out quite quick enough in a double play transfer, something like that, but still good, not as good as the diamond. Silver Shield should play nearly all routine plays, not all of them. That's the start where I think they can bobble a ground ball overall, because if you have somebody with 70 fielding, I am okay with that. Decent animation, so they get the job done. This is going to be the average, even though the devs still claim 60 fielding is average, which is blasphemous. If you look at the guys who have 60 fielding, they're known as some of the not great defenders in baseball, so that is not true. And tough plays can eat them up. So if they have to make a hard running catch or make a play, you know, like a shortstop moving far to the right, those kind of plays, I can definitely see that. If they're going to do a Jeter jump throw, maybe they bobble the ball coming up. That makes sense. Silver defense, bronze, the majority of routine plays, so over 50%, they should be making those, but not great animations. You know, this is when you really should start to see them kind of being a bit slower and not as effective as those other defensive players. And then common should be about 50-50, so they might get it, they might not, especially if you all but, you know, first baseman. That's a bit different, of course. You know, you can't have them just dropping balls right to them. That doesn't happen anyway right now, but about 50-50, something like that, maybe a little bit over. But yeah, bad and slow animations, that's how I would play defensive ratings. I think it's very important. They made good strides in 19. That's cleaned it up a bit in 20, and hopefully we see that in the beta. Hitting results. This is, of course, a very big one for a lot of people. The main reason a lot of people are frustrated with hitting is because of the results. It doesn't feel like a true video game that rewards skill sometimes. It feels so random. That's the big thing. More consistency, less RNG. That has to be the case. I know this has been debated for so long. It's supposed to be a baseball sim, but it's also a video game. User skill, user input should have a big effect. I don't mean if you square it up, it has to be a home run. It has to be a double. 10 times out of 10. It just has to be more often than not from what it is right now. So that's a big thing. Overall, improved results is what I'm looking for. Rewarding swinging at good pitches and good PCI placement and timing. If you have all three of those, if it's a fastball in a good part of the strike zone, maybe you can try to incorporate the hot zones that they have a little bit more. I don't know if that actually affects anything. And then if you have good placement and good timing, that should be good rewarded. Whether or not it's going to be a hit every time, it should at least hit really, really hard. And then, you know, you can go from there and overall just increase the rewarding of that timing, swing, and placement. And then bloopers and cheap hits, you know what I'm talking about, should be reduced by the contact correcting mentioned earlier that I was talking about, where if you're not close to it, that's where you'd see a lot of bloop hits. And also if you're very late, very early, that'd also be a lot of bloop hits. And I'm not talking about those Ichiro ones. That's not what I mean, because a lot of times he can get bloopers, but he actually is pretty close. I'm talking when you're not near the PCI and you're not having good timing, that is what would get affected. So overall, the hitting system I do think would be a lot better if they implemented what I was talking about with the timing and making your user input be a lot more rewarding. I really hope this is the year. This is the last year that we're going to be on this generation of consoles. I don't know if that's going to make a difference for the next generation once we get to the PS5, but I think this could have the makeups to be at the very least the best hitting system since 16, because I still prefer MLB 16's hitting system, even though it's technically more unrealistic, because that's when a ball would be hitting a flat object opposed to a round object. Like basically they described it in MLB 17 when they got the new ball physics. In 16 it'd be like a ball hitting a flat object, a wall. In 17 and further on, it was a ball hitting a round object like a bat. So I think this way it would get hitting a lot better. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment sections. Talking a bit more about the hitting aspect, looking at the physiological logic within there. There's some stuff that just don't make sense. And now, I never took a physics class because, well, pretty much our school is too small. We didn't offer one of those. But I know the general basics. And if you have a lefty pitcher throwing a slider inside on a right-handed batter, that should never, ever go opposite field, yet you'll see that sometimes. That shouldn't be happening unless everything I've thought to be true is technically a lie. Maybe it is, but that should not happen. You know what I mean? That kind of thing happens a lot where things just don't really make sense how something moves, and I just think that would be better, have it more cleaned up. That would also kind of help the bloops, because that's a lot of times how those can end up happening. Once again, I reiterate, I don't want to eliminate bloops because yes, they happen in baseball, very aware of that, but also at the same point, it's a video game. You shouldn't be winning games, and you know just as well as I do, you can very much well win games by getting bloop hits. I can square up everything and it just goes right to an outfielder, and you cannot have good timing, not have good placement, but the balls just fall where they have to be, where you aren't, and then they get on base with really fast guys, get 1-2 of those hits, and you have scoring runs. The physiological logic, which I think is a phrase that I can say, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, needs to be fixed, and once again coincides with the rest of the hitting improvements I've been mentioning. And finally, we're going to talk about like 8 more things, just kind of quickly, because 5 is a pretty nice and easy number, but there's a lot of things I don't want to talk about, so let's get right into it. The first of all is being able to see your opponent's PCI. That's something where if you're watching the gameplay, this is on franchise, you can see it from my the AI opponent where their PCI is supposed to be. Why can't I see my actual human online opponent's PCI? They used to have it. I think they took it out because they were getting annoyed that people were doing that to try to prove something against them and the hitting system not working. Add it back. It would be very interesting to see and kind of measure, should that have been a hit? Should that not have? So that would be cool. Showing the last out feedback in the next inning. If you guys know what I'm talking about, once you get your third out in the next inning, they don't show anything. I would love to see where my PCI feedback was, because for some reason, maybe it's just a coincidence, a lot of times I feel that last third out, damn, I thought I hit that ball pretty well. Who knows? I can never see. So I'd love to see them add that back. The catcher throwing meter, they said they fixed that so many times within the year. I still have issues with that. On a drop third strike, I get this well, not all the time, but sometimes, like 1 out of every couple of games, the catching throwing meter just won't pop up. They'll go through the long animation and then it'll show up, and even somebody like Pujols, who has no speed on his live series card, would already be getting to first base. Gotta get fixed. That's ridiculous, especially considering how many times that was in the patch notes. New attributes. This is something I'm very keen on, something I've always been recommending. There has to be something that differentiates players a little bit more, other than their swing and their stance. Now that could be something like acceleration, so guys move differently. You could have 90 speed and 50 acceleration, or you could have 90 speed and 90 acceleration, and that guy just gets out of the box a little bit quicker, so that's going to be very important. Tagging, this is a big thing. I don't know what tagging is tied to. It sometimes seems like fielding, sometimes it doesn't. I have times where I'll have Nolan Arenado or a very good defensive player that takes forever to tag, which that wouldn't make sense. So just have another attribute there. So if you have low tag attribute, it takes you a while to swing it over there and tag him. If you have a high one, it's nice and quick, just like you would see in the major leagues. Some guys are very adept at tagging, which you will notice that. Custom camera angles, why can't I use those online? I'm pretty sure you can do that in 2K, where you can kind of adjust what you want a little bit. There's no downside to having this. Personally, I kind of want to do it to just do some more dumb challenges. I want to have really stupid camera angles, but also just to fine-tune what really defines and helps you hitting wise. It doesn't do anything to hurt your opponent. I don't know why this is not allowed, and if it is something that can hurt your opponent, just make it so you can't use them for online play. Next up, fix check swings. Not much else to say here. The logic is really absurd. I don't know, sometimes it seems like it's the connection issue, which just makes it seem like you swung a little bit more than you actually did, but the check swing logic is horrible. I play players that sometimes check swing two times every at bat, and they're never called for strikes, and when they finally are, it doesn't look like they actually went around. Fix the check swing logic. It's getting real bad. And finally, ranked stadium regulation. you guys know there's certain stadiums at certain times where the ball is near invisible to see. Sometimes I don't think people know what they're doing and they just accidentally do that. Sometimes I think people do it maliciously and purposely do that, so it's kind of hard to see the ball coming in. So I just wish they would kind of take that out, find those ones that are very hard to see, and just make it for ranked seasons, battle royale, and events. Make it so you cannot use those online. Play versus friends, those kind of things that don't matter, who cares? But for ranked online play, you should not have a camera angle that inhibits where you can actually see. That's going to do it for this one. Longer than I had hoped for, but it did get my point across. I hope you guys had some good information there, something that we can look forward to for the beta in MLB 20 coming in just 5 days from now. Like I said, let me know down below in the comment section what you guys are most hoping to see for a sneak preview in the beta for MLB The Show 20. Very interested what you guys have to say about that. If you guys enjoyed this one, make sure to leave a like down below. Hope you guys have a great day. There goes out. Yay!